The battle for Sabana. It has been hailed as a move that might change how REITs are governed in Singapore. Activist investor Quas Capital has mounted yet another challenge against one of the oldest REITs in Singapore, Sabana. In the latest salvo, Quas has issued a requisition notice to Sabana, calling for a vote on certain resolutions. These resolutions would ultimately dissolve the REIT's manager and internalize its management. But this salvo has escalated into a litigation in the High Court of Singapore. What are the points of contention, and how might this affect REITs in Singapore, even if they are not a unit holder of Sabana? We take a look at the possible implications that may arise from this battle. First, a look at the players in this battle for Sabana. Sabana is one of the oldest REITs in Singapore, and it is a landlord of industrial spaces. It has a portfolio of 18 industrial assets like warehouses, general factories and smaller factories. All the assets are located across Singapore. In the challenger's corner is Quas Capital Asia, a subsidiary of Switzerland-based Quas Capital and a well-known activist institutional investor in Singapore. The firm owns more than 11% of the issued units of Sabana. In the other corner is ESR Group, a multinational property investment company who is also the largest unit holder of Sabana, and the owner of the REIT's manager. Quas has long maintained that given ESR's holdings in other industrial REITs, there is the fundamental issue of a conflict in interest. This conflict of interest, Quas argues, may have resulted in Sabana's relatively dismal performance in the last couple of years. This is especially so given its high vacancy levels seen in its portfolio. As such, Quas argues that ESR should relinquish its control over Sabana, with the management function internalized. On its part, ESR Group cautions that internalization is a route that is unprecedented in Singapore, as REITs in the country are all externally managed. This uncertainty might lead to an unraveling in loan covenants, which will ultimately be detrimental to all unit holders. Quas is pressing on, and has successfully requisitioned for an EGM, given its substantial unit holding in Sabana. The EGM will be held on the 4th of August 2023. ESR Group, on the other hand, is seeking a ruling from the High Court in Singapore to declare the requisition notice as invalid. The firm also sought an interim injunction from the court to prevent Sabana from holding the EGM pending this ruling. The Singapore High Court has denied the request for an interim injunction but has granted ESR Group an expedited court hearing, during which a ruling on the EGM will be issued. The hearing will be held on the 19th of July. Meanwhile, since the injunction to halt the EGM was denied, preparation for Sabana's EGM is going full steam. What does it mean to REITs investors should Quas's attempt to internalize the Sabana manager comes to fruition? The most obvious is that it will set a precedent for other REITs to be internalized. Since the establishment of the REITs market in 2002, REITs in Singapore have always been managed by an external manager. With the Sabana example, there is now a clear template for internalization to take place among other REITs. In theory, internalization of the manager would result in greater focus by the manager, given that they are no longer concerned with the performance of other REITs. This would also reduce chances that a conflict of interest might take place. This level of focus would bring about better portfolio management and capital allocation. But on the flip side, there will be an issue of scalability. The manager will no longer be able to ride on management infrastructure of other REITs, and there will be less chances to cross-pollinate best practices across the different REITs under its management. Either way, the battle for Sabana has now entered uncharted territory with the High Court litigation action, and what is clear is that the REITs landscape in Singapore may be due to change forever. What is unclear is whether this change is for the better or for worse.